We submit the case of a totally endoscopic reoperative mitral valve surgery for a locked mechanical prosthesis. The case is one of a 57-year-old female who had undergone a mitral valve replacement in CABG at an outside institution 2 years prior. The patient presented with acute exacerbation of CHF with pulmonary edema and ultimately progressed to VT arrest. The patient was resuscitated, and this is the imaging obtained. TE shows severe intravalvular leak with a poorly closing mitral leaflet. The valve had been positioned in an anatomical position. Our approach was an endoscopic approach through the right chest, using axillary cannulation, giving the patient severe aortoiliac disease. Access to the right chest started with the takedown of adhesions of the lung to the pericardium. And after we were able to take down these adhesions, we opened the pericardium and started dissecting the heart from the pericardium. This was done with the cautery and blunt dissection too. After the right atrium and aorta were dissected apart, you can see here the aorta, separating the aorta from the pulmonic artery. We're going to dissect the aorta from the PA for the cross-clamp space, and we're going to apply a root vent cannula. The plan is to arrest the heart with antegrade needle cardioplasia, and we're cooling down to 32 degrees Celsius. We use a deployable or CTSNet cross-clamp inserted through the working port. Once the arrest is obtained, we're going to enter the heart through the interatrial groove. We'll apply this silk stitch to the root vent to move it away from the trajectory of the camera. And the interatrial groove is already open, the atrial retractor is placed, and the valve is exposed. As you can see here, the mitral valve prosthesis is placed in an anatomical position, which is not the correct way of placing this. This is an onyx mechanical valve, and by its shape and form, it should have been placed in an anti-anatomical position. You can see there that posterior leaflet is locked by that piece of tissue, likely remnant chordae, coming through the valve. Interestingly, that this happened now. Perhaps this had been the case in the past for the patient. But here we are. You can also see that the valve itself is in good working order, and there is no thrombosis of the valve. You can see now there that there are two areas where there is protrusion of the remnant chordae into the valve, locking the mechanism. For this, after addressing the patient's resuscitation, the patient had been resuscitated after VT arrest and had been in cardiogenic shock moments prior to arrival to the operating room. So for this, I elected to do as much as possible to preserve this valve and avoid having to do a much more extensive operation. As you saw there, I was able to grasp the tissue and resect it without damaging the valve, and now I'm using another set of angled forceps to do the same for this tissue. And finally, to the medial aspect in the image, you can see that there's still remnant tissue. I'm using non-metal instruments to push open the leaflet so as to not scratch them and damage them. And you can see here I'm going to engage with a plastic suction tip to suction any potential debris inside of the valve, and clearly there is a piece of remnant chordae threatening to lock the valve in the medial aspect. I'm using a very fine nerve hook to identify that area, and now I'm going to use a pair of scissors and a scalpel to cut that out. Once I have engaged chordae, I'm going to use an 11-blade scalpel to cut this tissue, avoiding injuring or damaging the valve itself. We're going to again identify this remnant tissue, and we're using fine pickups. we're going to cut it, as shown here. I changed the instruments in order to avoid scratching the valve. And trying to suction any potential debris left behind. At this point, we're going to use flat scissors and cut the excess tissue. We're going to make sure that there's no remainder tissue. We're bringing into the field another piece of remnant chordae. I have to mention that it is important when implanting mechanical valves to anticipate that some of the tissue left behind will and probably will block the valve. And so it is important to prepare the field for the mechanical valve to prevent this kind of problems when implanting the valve. Also of note, the location of the valve and positioning of its leaflets should be anti-anatomical, as it will prevent LVOT obstruction. Again, in a patient who were to be more stable, the better operation would have been to replace the mitral valve. This patient had no problems taking Coumadin, and this is not a thrombotic event. It's merely a poorly implanted valve. Now that we're pleased with the removal of all the tissue and have cleaned as much as possible the undersurface of the valve, feeling satisfied with the cleanup of the remnant chordal tissue, we're going to make sure that we leave nothing behind. We're going to change to pod scissors and cut that little remnant piece of cord. We're going to irrigate the valve. This entire process took approximately 28 minutes to perform. And now we're going to reposition the valve to the correct orientation, anti-anatomical. With this, we're going to proceed and close the left atrium in a standard fashion and separate from bypass. We irrigate the valve with saline and then close the left atrium in a standard single layer fashion. Intraoperative completion TEE shows the washing jets of the valve, but the leaflet is completely closing. The mean gradients are back to normal, and there is no transvalvular leak. 3D reconstruction again shows good mobility of both leaflets and just the washing jets. This patient did a full recovery despite the fact that she remained in the ICU for 3 days and went home in 7 days. Thank you for your attention.